All right, welcome back to Texas A&M Aggies Live, part of the Voice of College Football Network. I'm your host, Cameron Honesty, joined as always by my co-host, Cannon Torres. We are joining you from, I think we did show last Thursday. So that was actually before A&M landed any transfer portal commitments because the portal did open last Friday. Obviously, tampering and all that kind of communication, that's just natural now. It's something that, we're going to get every year. But on, I think it was Saturday afternoon was when they landed UTSA tight end, transfer tight end, Houston Thomas, who's obviously a native of College Station, grew up an A&M fan, didn't get heavily recruited to some of the bigger Power 4 than Power 5 programs. So obviously ended up at UTSA. Great player there, put on a lot of great tape, great receiver, is a pretty good blocker, or pretty much an overall tight end, I'd say. Just a solid addition to a room that needed new players. Obviously, after Theo Malin-Olstrom entered the transfer portal and Nate Berkacher, pretty much he ran out of eligibility and he's going to go to the NFL draft anyways. But again, great addition. I think he's going to, you and I had discussed this off camera that just having another pure receiving tight end on the team is going to help Marshall Reed. Either way, obviously Marshall Reed last Friday we already knew this, but he officially announced that he is coming back for the 26th season, obviously probably signing a new deal to stay with A&M. So for those who don't think that's good news, like, you're gonna have to deal with it anyway. So either way, it's good news because I think
either way, it's good to have continuity no matter what it is. You see a lot of other teams with their uncertainty, with like a Dante Moore who's considering the draft or coming back to college. But with A&M and Marcel Reed, I don't think there was ever a question whether he was going to be coming back or not, because there wasn't really any NFL draft buzz anyway, or the prospect of going to the portal for someone who didn't quite understand what A&M was all about. But you mentioned that you're losing Nate Berkacher, who was a very, very solid addition from Nebraska. You're losing a guy like Theo Malin-Olstrom to the portal, and then Amari Nyblack as well. So Houston Thomas for UTSA, it was kind of they ran a lot of two tight ends. So they had Houston and another guy who both caught over 325 yards this season. But Houston specifically had 34 receptions, 347 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he's one that you're bringing back to his hometown, and you're wanting him to be able to put on a show his last season of eligibility.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things when you don't have continuity. So like that, I'm joking here, but personally, you and I both discussed Marcel Reed's return as, look, he didn't play well at the end of the year, but we all knew that barring some crazy change that he was going to return, because this system that is now being run by Holman Wiggins is not going to change too much, we don't believe. I think there's going to be some new wrinkles. I do believe that Holman Wiggins has his own opinions about how the offense should run. Obviously, he has this background with developing wide receivers that are still starring in the NFL today during his time at Alabama. And I think tight ends is going to be a big part of that. I think getting a guy like Thomas, who, like we said, is established, he's kind of built like those hybrid tight ends today, where you can slot him out wide and they can maybe do some damage against smaller defenders. And having another guy like that to join Caddy Armstrong, who we do believe is going to be an up-and-coming player for this program, it's just another piece to the puzzle. I think it's maybe was it on the same day, or was that on Sunday, that they did land their second tight end commit in Richie Anderson, correct?
Yeah. The next day, Richie Anderson was a kid that we were kind of hearing was under the radar from Fresno State, that was just kind of this guy where he's just like, well, since you're losing the prospect of Theo in the portal and a great inline blocker tight end like Nate Berkacher, you're probably wanting to pick up another kind of tight end that kind of is the opposite of what Houston Thomas might give you, and that could be Richie Anderson. So I don't know if you have his stats pulled up next to you, but it's not that he necessarily lit up the show. I think he had around 300 yards.
About 300 yards in the season, about 50-plus receptions.
But he was great as an inline blocker for them. And that's really what piqued the interest of A&M. And overall, they were able to get it done really, really quickly behind the scenes. And Richie Anderson is now an Aggie.
Yeah, they think I do believe they think he's more of a Nate Berkacher type of player for them. Obviously, that was very successful in for a 1 year rental. He's a younger player, so he could stick around with the program for a while. Uh, Elko, and we can talk about this in the show because I think it's very fascinating. His strategy is that of like a businessman right now. Looking at the eligibility, he's not looking for 1 year rentals with a lot of these guys. There is a huge visitor right now on campus that we'll discuss in a few. But again, getting this position fixed for the most part, no, because you do believe in Armstrong. You still have Mike O'Reilly on this roster, who's obviously an established blocker and someone you do believe in as well. Getting two more of, I wouldn't call them, well, I would say Bobby Houston Thomas is a veteran. Anderson is getting there. He has enough experience, and he does bring a lot to the table as a blocker, and obviously having 300 yards in the year is pretty decent for a tight end, especially at Fresno State that isn't producing the best quarterbacks all the time. And usually they're undersized guys or they're throwing 50-50 balls. So just having another big body in there to shore up that room is great. So I think fans overall, who, maybe some that were looking for big names and stuff for the weekend, which they did. There was a couple, and we'll touch on those, that we're happy about this, paid attention to how important the tight end room is and tight end as a position is to this offense and the blocking scheme. So,
yeah, I think that going over the weekend, they had a couple of guys that were just overall, you didn't see their name pop immediately, but as soon as a lot of A&M fans I saw kind of deep dive into the stats and stuff behind it, exactly why A&M was looking at these guys, they're like, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see a lot of programs nowadays where it's like everybody has a nitpick when it comes to it, but a lot of A&M fans knew that you were losing Theo and knew that you were losing production along the tight end room like Nate Berkacher, and you needed these two guys to come in and just kind of give you these quality reps now. And who knows, maybe Keone Armstrong just has this off-season just pop for the Aggies and just becomes that tight end one for them. Who knows? Maybe it's Mike O'Reilly, who's been in this system now for a full year and a half and is looking to be still a part of this Aggie program right now.
And that's, go ahead.
Yeah, so the reason that I am still like looking forward to what this portal could bring A&M is the factor in now of scholarships going up by 20. So instead of 85 total spots on your roster for college football, now you have 105. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting an influx of cash to upgrade your roster with for 105, but it does mean that it opens up a couple more spots. And instead of just walk-on players, you can kind of put those walk-on players now on full scholarship.
Yeah, for a school like A&M and Texas, Oregon, Alabama, all the big programs that are doing very well financially and do have those large NIL budgets, this isn't going to be a problem. And all it does, and that's what we've seen the strategy with Mike Elko, is that you want to get some of these younger guys in here, some of these guys that have multiple years of eligibility, to get them in the program to make an immediate impact. Because I believe the strategy is clear with tight end. It is that you do believe that Armstrong, who, as we know, was one of the most versatile players in the 23 class, 24. Yeah. 24. Also played defensive end at Jasper. I mean, just an incredible athlete. And we did see some of that when I think he was in the Under Armour All-American game that year, that he could end up being a real threat as a receiver. But like you said, Mike O'Reilly's kind of been waiting there. And now that gives him a chance to potentially earn a starting spot with some depth behind him or got other competition, because it doesn't result in basically worrying about that position's going, we don't have enough depth here, so you are going to have to play a ton of snaps even if you're not ready. This gives him more of a cushion to be like, you know what, this may be my time to show. Because I think Mike O'Reilly was a former 4-star prospect that they did believe was going to be more of a receiving tight end at that point. He's just more of a blocker at this stage, so gives him another opportunity there. You want to move on to the next guy? So Ray Coney.
I love this guy.
I was telling one of my writers, I was like, man, I think it was like sad. Because we got some intel and we knew a commitment was coming down. And I went, man, I hope it's him. I hope it's him, because this guy plays, oh my God. Just, you talk about like an old school football player who just puts his head down and tackles and just does everything his coaches coach tells him to do, tries to improve every season to become the best version of himself. That's Ray Coney. Obviously, spent last season at Tulsa, was a small school G5 player. I forget was it ETSU was his former?
I want to say it was ETSU or USF.
Okay, yeah. So it was. So he had transfer for had 128 tackles last season.
Yeah,
and,
just crazy,
unbelievable numbers. I'm like, God,
so,
I had to double check that. I was like, holy crap, man.
So this is one of those players that I said before, where it was like you didn't necessarily see the pop immediately from the names, but you deep dive at 128 tackles. That's nothing to like blink eyes about. But I deep dive and deep dive and deep dive more and more. And it's like, this guy was top 10 in all of college football last year in sure tackling stats. And what I mean by that is that a lot of players just were not able to break tackles on rushing plays around this guy or when he was in coverage. So does that mean he fits in right next to Torian York, who we are still kind of waiting on? Does he have some NFL draft stock and is he going to go? Or is he going to slide next to him and kind of fight him and make him better? I see him more as like a weak side linebacker, so that could line up pretty well with him. But Ray Coney just completely, like, it was the star of the defense for Tulsa this past season, and they were extremely disappointed to see him go, but they understood just why a player like him did enter the portal.
Yeah, just extremely physical. I think Billy Lucci at Texas said it best. He said, like, how he's going to be used next season is really going to depend on Torian York's eventual decision if he does go to the NFL draft or if he does choose to return for one final season. I think that if he does go to the NFL draft, which I'm guessing we'll hear his decision in the coming days to weeks, I'm not sure. Okay. But at the same time, he's good enough to start on this defense next year, but you really want to get everything you can out of his skill set and his instincts. And he's going to be a favorite of Mike Elko's. I can guarantee you that, because this is a guy who obviously has been working his tail off to get to this level, obviously going from his previous destination to Tulsa to now Texas A&M, just a big time, playing the SEC, playing against some of the best offensive linemen the country has to offer. But this is another part of Mike Elko's plan to fix the run defense. This is a sure tackler. This is somebody who does not let you out of that gap, who's not going to let you get past him in the second level. And if you do, you better be like Barry Sanders-esque, because he's going to be on your foot when you're trying to get out of that tackle each time. So this is, again, an immediate impact player. This has been, I mean, when he committed, I was like, okay, I get it now. This is a great strategy, and this is similar to last season at this time.
Yeah, I think you are bringing him in to be the starter. There were a lot of plays last year or this past season, where you saw that maybe Torian York, as good as he is, was on the field maybe a little too much, and that maybe gassed him a lot.
Yes.
With Damian Sanford, you saw a lot when Scooby Williams was out, and the value of that rotational aspect could be for those guys. So I think Ray Coney comes in and just instantly like elevates the top end of this room and becomes a starter. I think that's why you bring him in, is you are projecting him to be a starter for this Aggie defense.
Yeah, because I think that, and again, you're trying to fill out that depth. You don't know about York yet. You know Scooby Williams is off to the NFL draft. You know that you are going to elevate Damian Sanford, who, I mean, we believe he's coming back. I mean, I don't know if if he's going to put out like an official announcement or anything like that. Noah Michaela is guaranteed to be back. He's going to earn more snaps next year based on how he was playing this season in those really minimal snaps. But I mean, Elko trusted him enough to put him on the field in even third down situations in close games. So we do know what the makeup's going to be of this linebacker room. It's just all depending on Torian York. But I agree with you. I think that you bring Coney in to be an instant impact starter for you and help fix that run defense, because you're still trying to add defensive linemen from the portal. You're trying to add another edge or two. You're really trying to bulk that room up like you did last year. Now, granted, you did have Cassius Howell returning last season. Rylan Kennedy, who actually committed to Florida State today. You probably maybe thought at the beginning of the offseason that he would potentially come back, but obviously he was looking for more of a starting role, which he is likely going to get with the Seminoles with the losses they had. But as I digress, we'll move on. We'll talk about the defensive line more in a minute. But So you got to pronounce his name, Bayard's first name, because I don't want to screw it up.
You just say Tafiq.
Tafiq. Okay, it is Tafiq.
Tafiq.
Probably the best addition they've had so far, in my opinion, and that's until maybe a couple down the line. This kid is one of the best defensive backs in pass protection or in pass coverage. Pass protection. I got O-line in my mind. Pass pro. I've seen watching his film throughout the weekend. He didn't allow a touchdown per Pro Football Focus. It was like 572 snaps in pass pro, which is just insane. In pass. Did I say pass pro? Pass covered, whatever.
You know what?
Either way, this is another great addition. Someone who can play, who has position versatility. I believe that he can play at nickel. I think he has the size and the speed for that, and the experience for that. Just again, losing Bryce Anderson to the transfer portal, which I think some of us knew that was going to happen. Some of us were kind of 50-50 with that. I'm not going to say he's better than Bryce Anderson right now, but he's more versatile, and he's somebody you can trust in this defense, knowing what he's done in his career with USF and Colorado for one season. I think he had 4 pass deflections last year, an interception, and again, just nobody could score on him. That's the thing. And kind of like Coney, another sure tackler, which they really need, and somebody who's going to help this run defense, shooting that gap, playing that hybrid linebacker in certain maybe third down situations. So just another great get for this program.
Yeah, I agree. I am a little bit more on the side of Ray Coney being one of the bigger pickups so far, because
I would say they're tied, in my opinion.
Just because I'm not sure where you're going to slide Bayard in yet. I'm projecting him to be a full-time safety rather than a nickel guy.
Yeah.
But the younger brother of NFL safety right now, Kevin Bayard, Tafiq comes in, and you're taking the leading tackler from Colorado this past season. Mm-hmm. Beats the previous guy on their roster by, I believe, about 10 total tackles, half a sack. You can put him in one of those safety blitz packages that we saw Bryce Anderson do a lot in his first couple of seasons, and Dalton Brooks, what he looked like this past season, where you can put him in on those blitz packages. So he was targeted a couple times, but didn't allow a touchdown, like you said. 4 passes defended, an interception, and 2 forced fumbles. So this is a guy who just has the production, at least in the Big 12 right now. I do think he's able to elevate his level of play to the next level of the SEC. So I'm pretty happy with this pickup, and they were able to evaluate him pretty quick. Tennessee was also very, very much after him. There were a couple other SEC teams that inquired, but eventually A&M wins out for how they're going to use him.
Yeah, he was kind of underrated with the transfer portal rankings, which is kind of interesting to me. Look, some of those are based on kind of star status. I kind of get them, like Cam Coleman being like the number 1 guy and having the 5-star type after 2 seasons. Makes sense based on how you kind of project these guys to the NFL. But again, Bayard is just a productive player. He's like Coney. He's smart. You can trust him in your defense. He's one of those guys you want on the field in key situations where you do not see him as a liability. Again, another impact player at a position of need. I do believe the nickel spot's kind of interesting because they did host Edwin Joseph this week, correct?
Correct. I believe he has left campus as of now. So Florida State safety Edwin Joseph was on campus. I believe they really do see him more as a nickel guy instead of a safety where he's listed at. From all that I've heard right now, he actually might be heading out to visit LSU next. Mm-hmm. So LSU is having a lot of attrition on their roster, as such is with a coaching change, moving on to Lane Kiffin. So I think that a lot of players are going through the exact motions right now of getting all the information they can, but Edwin Joseph is a name to watch right now.
Yeah, because I do think, if A&M sees him as a nickel, that would most likely be your potential starting nickel next season. Now, granted, Jordan Shaw is coming back. They maybe see him in that spot, but I do think they needed just another safety either way. If you love Bayard's versatility, that's great, but shoring up that room as well, because when you did lose Anderson, there are younger guys in the roster maybe you don't trust to play elevated snaps next season. So getting another guy like that you trust is a big deal. So I think the next guy we should talk about, and I love that we're talking about a kicker is David Alano, who, again, A&M's kicking problems were real. I mean, it's kind of funny because I talked about him a little bit at Aggies Wire this season. Just, wasn't sure about Randy Bond after a really bad start to the year. He gets benched. Jared Zirkle comes in. He's really not any better. Kicker is the weirdest position in all of sports. It's all mental, I think. I watched at the FCS championship game last night where the just bad operation, and the Illinois State kicker gets his kick. Oh, God, it's a nightmare. But I wasn't rooting for anybody, but I kind of wanted Illinois State to win. But
hey, for anyone who wants to watch pure football, go watch that championship game at FCS. It was nuts.
That was insane. That was one of the best games I've watched all year. I'm not kidding you. But either way, you need to clean this up. They need to clean up their overall blocking and operation on special teams. That's a big thing, which is why it's kind of surprising that Mike Elko has not looked for a new special teams coach. That's a story for another day. But either way, they need to fix those problems. That starts at kicker. David Alano is one of the best in the country. I think he was like 80s. I think he was kicking 87% on the season.
Pretty much just about. I think he was 20 for 23 on the season this year. Mm-hmm. And he just we knew him as a potential target before the portal opened up, just because, hey, you see good kicker in a league, you want to keep track of those kickers. So I really do think that the kicking problem is probably addressed for the most part as of right now, just because David Alano comes in with heaps of experience. He was perfect on extra points, and his long field goal this year was a 47, but I know he's hit from 50-plus before. But, I mean, Randy Bond and Jared Zirkle just didn't cut it, going 16 for 26 on field goals this year. It's just not sustainable.
No, and it's leaving so many points on the field, and it's just crazy how – and it is, there's always a joke of why – is a non-football player, like as they say, because kickers usually aren't football players, most of them. They're just kickers deciding the end of the football game. And it's kind of fascinating, right? Because some of these guys are like former soccer players. Trust me, I remember them. Like, didn't really ever play football. They just kind of walked on, kicked, just wore a helmet, and that's great. It's still a position. But why are they deciding games? Well, that's just how it is. So Alano, who seems like a very confident kid, who obviously has game-winning kicks under his belt. Now, granted, Randy Bond did as well, but at this point, you look at those numbers and you compare them to those the two Aggie kickers, you can put a lot of trust in this kid, I think, at this stage.
Alano has the most recent game-winning kick experience.
Yes, and that helps a lot, right?
For our Aggie fans, David Alano for Illinois kicked the game-winning or walk-off field goal against Tennessee in their bowl game. To end the season. So heartbreak for Tennessee. Great
for him.
Illinois, especially 2 years in a row beating an SEC team in South Carolina and Tennessee back-to-back years in bowl games. So David Alano, you feel really confident in. You also bring in true freshman Asher Murray, who by all standards is a star kicker, having teams like Ohio State, LSU, Georgia all after him out of high school. So I think you feel good with where the room is now.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right?
And you're looking towards spring training.
Yeah, you're looking at getting another experienced kicker in with your freshman because, again, Murray could be very, very good. Hell, Murray could end up being the starting kicker for the 2026 season based on what he did in spring and the confidence this program, the coaching staff has in him. So I don't know, but you just needed to fix that problem, so I'm glad they did it. And we can't spend too much time talking about a kicker. So either way, we're going to move on to the offensive line. So, and we'll get to the recent. Yeah. So I was coming home yesterday, got the update that they got their second O-line commit. We're going to start with the first. So Cohen Eccles, who was a former A&M commit. I think a lot of people remember that. I think he's from the 23 class. Spent his last 2 seasons with LSU. Very versatile. That's kind of the key word of the day is versatility. Again, someone who can play both guard spots. But right now, for those of you who have not heard, Chase Bisontis did declare for the NFL draft after 3 seasons of the program, all starting, because he did start during his freshman season at right tackle. Eventually moved over to left. That was during Jimbo Fisher's final season.
And Cameron, he has over 2,000 snaps of experience. Bisontis does. at A&M, so he has been starting for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And from all the reports that we may have heard coming out of certain camps, whether it was NFL draft circles, we had kind of thought that Bisontis was a 50-50 depending on where his name was called. And we actually talked about it last week, where if we had thought, or if he thought he would get a day 2 or maybe even a day 3 draft grade, he might go. And from all intents and purposes, we think he did get those initial grades. So we'll see him most likely at the NFL Combine, and we're hoping to see him at the next level. But yeah. Cohen Eccles, man, I mean, talk about a guy who is, it's like a semi-prodigal son coming home where, I mean, this guy, a lot of A&M fans, especially around my age, know this kid pretty well because we saw him commit to A&M, and then the whole stuff with the coaching staff, the firing of Jimbo Fisher, he ended up just backing out of the commitment before eventually flipping to LSU.
Which nobody blames him for that. I'm going to be honest. I don't blame any of those kids in the 23 class who left A&M for not staying because you had no idea what was coming. And again, we don't have to go back to the debacle. That was almost hiring a certain coach instead of Mike Elko. But when you hear that as a recruit, it's kind of like, okay, probably not the best decision. But now with the program established under Elko and moving forward and just progressing every season, I think this is a no-brainer. And now knowing that Chase Bisontis is gone, this was a must-have because you are getting a starting level left guard who started, I think, almost every game last season at left guard with LSU. We did think that he could potentially move to right guard if he had to do that, but now, you know, this could be his chance to just slide in as the starter, depending on, you know, who some of the younger guys who elevate this season. But just was a great prospect coming out. I remember covering him, someone who had starting potential very quickly. And one of those, you know, he's got one of those NFL bodies where it's like you see him move and it's like it's very fluid. And
he's even on the taller side for an offensive.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He is a
6'4", 315, and he's logged over 580 total snaps this season at the guard spot. So when you're looking at those guards, you're kind of looking at it, say, hey, maybe this guy could be one of those guys of the future, especially with Chase Bisontis leaving. But I think is funny is looking back in the stats on that LSU offensive line. There were 2 games that stood out to me where it was whatever defensive line they were going against in those 2 games just completely wrecked the entire offensive line's PFF grades because of how bad they got to the quarterback. That was Clemson and that was Texas A&M. So I think after the LSU game, and don't double check me on this, I'm quoting or just misremembering, but Eccles right now has a PFF grade of 67.8.
It's something like that, yeah.
But his run blocking now, which counts towards those sack percentages, is a 51 just because of how much defensive lines in the Clemson game, A&M game, were just able to get to their quarterback. So I think it is more you need to get him in the strength and development program immediately, but you are very, very intrigued at the prospect of him being on that offensive line full time.
Yeah, his total pass blocking grade for PFF was 70.6 on the year. So that's pretty damn good, I'll say that. Overall, though, when the rest of the line breaks down, it's very hard to judge these guys based on that. We do know, and obviously I don't think I'm breaking any news here because it was released by Matt Zenitz, A&M is hosting Jacarius Pete, one of the top offensive linemen, a left tackle from North Carolina State today. He is a guy, when you look at his PFF numbers, that's a NFL type left tackle right now. He does not give up anything in pass protection, very similar to Trey Zoom. So you got to take those grades with a grain of salt. But overall, I think Eccles is a guy that can immediately start and make an impact and be just a solid option for them to replace Bisontis. And I think that Mike Elko did not want to deal with growing pains with guys like Ashton Funk, maybe Blake Ivy, even though I do believe they're good enough to take the next step. So on Monday. So on Monday night, I was driving back and I got the update that they landed Trovon Baugh, from the guard from South Carolina, which I think kind of surprised both of us. We did not get a ton of intel on that, and I kind of looked back and I was like, I must have missed that he visited and that he was a sure target for them. But you're talking size. You're getting size. This kid is 6'3", I think over 330 pounds, I
Yeah.
believe. He's a big boy. As you can tell in that photo right there, look at those arms. God,
Look at him. I mean, he is. If that's not an offensive line prospect, I don't know what
yeah,
is.
I was like, I'm telling you, I'm an O-line guy, and those big boys in the middle, man, they're the hog mollies. Like, these are the dudes who you want in your run game to clear the way for your back. And again, knowing that Armaj Reed Adams is also going to the NFL, declaring for the NFL draft earlier, I think it was last month. Look, I'm not going to say that Boz is going to immediately start at that spot, but you've got some great security there, and you can ensure that you're going to bring him in. He's already got a ton of experience. He was an all SEC, I think, all mention.
Yeah, I mean,
mention. Yeah,
he was, I believe, an all SEC freshman, but he played all 12 games and started 11 times at right guard for South Carolina. I don't think he started against Missouri, but I think they had some issues there. But
again,
he's a game captain.
Exactly.
He was a game captain, and that's not something you take lightly because you had Trey Zune, Torian York, and more guys like for A&M. Like, think that, but for South Carolina, he has a pretty good pass blocking grade at that offensive guard spot as well.
He does. You and I both watched the film last night. I think one of the best. I think credit to Jackson Callaway. I think he put out one of the better clips of him in pass pro. And again, good mover, efficient. Does not, some of these guys, it's just hands. It's just hands. It's just something. The footwork, they usually get down by year 2 or 3. Hands are always an issue, hand placement, avoid holding, stuff like that. But again, the size and the experience is there. And I think this is going to be pretty easy for them to fix these and not have to worry about the guard position too much. I think tackle is the main priority now, especially left tackle. That's why you're hosting Pete. That's why you are hosting another Tennessee O-lineman.
Zalen's Hurd.
Yes. And so look, again, man, credit to Mike Elko and Adam Cushing. They are attacking this position. They know, kind of like, A&M's rivalry 2 hours away. They have to rival. They haven't fixed their O-line yet. And it's kind of funny that a lot of these teams are focused on like skill position players and stuff like that early on, when you really need to be fixing your blocking, because if you can't block, none of it matters. And I mean, we've seen that before in A&M history where they've had battle lines, and that just kind of destroys any type of continuity and success offensively. So that if they can land Ichkarius Pete or Hurd or anybody like that, I think they're going to be in a very good spot, because they do have younger guys that I still believe in outside of we talked about Lamont Rogers on the show a couple times. We do think that he's certainly skilled enough to take the next step. I don't know if he's going to be a tackle or not. I don't know if they see him as a guard, but you needed both these guys in your program so that when you go into spring, you have a foundation at least, because you are now losing 4 starters.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. I mean, we knew that was possible. And I think a lot of people were kind of really thinking Bisontis was going to be back. I remember talking to my dad about that. He was asking me, he's like, do you think he's going to be back? I was like, I think it's just his NFL grade. I think it's just depends on when you are a player who has played 3 seasons and you've gotten better every year and you've gotten better in certain areas of your game. I mean, he played at tackle. He's excelled at guard. He's strong as an ox. I mean, that dude looks like an NFL player now. So it makes perfect sense. And then the other guys, it's just expired eligibility. So you had to prepare for this either way. So
yeah, I look down at my phone and I am just getting buzzed and buzzed and buzzed. Turns out it's just that John Harbaugh was fired from the Baltimore Ravens. So
okay,
yeah,
that's a shock.
Yeah, that's for a different show altogether.
Yeah, that's for an NFL show, but that's
feels pertinent.
That's
so.
After that,
yeah.
after just an injured season, whatever.
Hey,
okay, we have to move on. But either way,
our next one, our last total commitment that we have as of right now, really intriguing. Really
intriguing is the right word. Yes.
So last night, it was pretty late at night too. Where
like 9 p.m. Yeah, we got that down.
Yeah. So Colorado defensive line or edge. You can kind of play them both, but freshman Brandon Davis Swain committed to A&M last night. surprisingly enough, their second commitment from a Colorado player. They hosted him on Saturday, and from that, they just kind of kept in communication. Ohio State definitely wanted to get this kid on campus, but after that visit on the weekend, the staff really nailed it. And then after that, it was really just conversations that turned into, hey, what's it going to take? And Davis Swain is a 6'4", 290-pound kid that is more of a guy where he's shown you he can play at a power conference level on a defensive front, but he wins by the margins. So that is in the limited sample size we've had of him so far at Colorado. It was really more of the where can he make his headway and excel at. And I think that's what the Aggies are keying in on. He's a developmental type of prospect that you want on the back end, especially after losing out on Solomon Williams to the portal. So Davis Swain coming in is someone who I think they're really high on for the future.
Yeah, and again, like I said, intriguing guy, somebody who does have a year of experience under his belt, somebody who you do believe is going to be a part of a rotation next season. This is not an immediate starter replacement guy. This is somebody who you want it. You see the size, you see the versatility, you see the speed, you see the athleticism, you see somebody who can be like a tweener on the defensive line. So another future type of guy who you feel could be maybe like a Rylan Kennedy was this year for your defensive line, because you still need to go out there and I believe get a starting level edge. Get another starting level defensive tackle. They've still got a lot of work to do. Again, it hasn't even been a week since the portal opened, so A&M's just been very successful. So
yes,
we're able to talk. Like that's the thing I think we need to say is that they have been very, very successful over the last 5 days. It's been actually incredible to watch. I did not see this many commitments coming down the hatch until obviously I think after Byard committed. I was like, okay, there's going to be more coming after this, because if you're getting Byard right now, and you're having all these guys visit, I'm not shocked by that. But yeah, so one of the biggest stories, and you and I have been discussing this now since he entered the portal, is Cam Coleman, the Auburn transfer wide receiver. We got a couple updates over the last 2 days. He did stay in College Station for his visit an extra day. So he was there Sunday through Monday. He was supposed to go to Texas Tech on Tuesday. Something got derailed there. So he's going to go on Wednesday now. Visited Texas before he went to A&M on Saturday. And right now, I don't know if Alabama, you got to tell me this, if Alabama is still in the mix here. I thought that they weren't, but now I'm hearing maybe they are because his old wide receiver coach is there. USC, I don't think is in the mix anymore, but.
So Cam Coleman, I really do think that at the end of the day, a lot of it is just going to come down to what he believes is best. I really don't think the outside noise as much for this guy is going to affect the recruitment, especially in the transfer portal, as much. So maybe there is some validity to Alabama coming back into the picture after previously being nationally reported that they were going to be out and not going to visit. Maybe there's some validity to Texas Tech kind of delaying his visit to Texas Tech a day. Maybe he just wants a day off. Who knows?
That could be it. He is a young man. We have to remember these are kids. These are guys who are set to, we get it. And, I did an article about it last night that basically he's telling insiders that money is not the only reason he's going to commit to any place. And I know that people go, well, of course. Well, no, we don't know what these kids are thinking. These are great financial opportunities for these young men to play football in college before they go to the NFL. And for some who can help their family and help themselves and prepare for their future financially, I get it. I get going to a place where money is a big part of that. That's just part of the game, right? But for Coleman, playing at Auburn, where he probably had a pretty decent NIL deal there, and it just wasn't successful. Maybe he doesn't believe that Golish is the right guy for his skill set. I don't know. We won't know that because we're not having discussions with him. We're just getting intel, from agents and stuff like that of where he's going, maybe what he thought about this recent trip. I heard from a source, and probably the same as you did, that it was a pretty good visit to A&M. I think it was probably a pretty good visit to Austin too, to see the Texas Longhorns and meet Steve Sarkisian and kind of see what he could look like with Arch Manning next season. The same with A&M, what he could look like with Marcel Reed. But there is a connection with Alabama. He's an Alabama native. Alabama was a finalist to get him during his recruiting process. And Texas Tech, to be honest with you, I don't get that. I think that even though he said it's not going to be about money, I think money is going to be the only draw for Tech. I don't think Sorsby, this is just my opinion. I like Sorsby. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's the type of quarterback that's like, oh, well, I'm going to go there now because Sorsby's there. And I heard some of the people kind of using that analogy. Okay, so is Sorsby better than Marcel Reed? Is Sorsby better than Arch Manning? Is Sorsby better than a lot of the top quarterbacks in the country? I don't know. I mean, he played at Cincinnati last year, so I can't tell you if that's going to be the big draw.
I would say I disagree a little bit when it comes to Tech, just because I think Texas Tech is actually more on the style of where people thought A&M was when it came to money and home style feel. I know I've been to Lubbock a couple of times, and although it's not necessarily my vibe, I know why people go there in the first
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not. So, I get it.
What Joey McGuire has done, and he's done this for the longest time, dating back to his high school coaching days, where he's made his players play for him and feel at home where they are. And so you're seeing it now where part of the factor that is going into these quote unquote oil money recruitments when it comes to Texas Tech, at least from last year, is they're capitalizing on it in high school rankings. So those high school kids are developing relationships with this Texas Tech staff. And it's kind of just turned heads more to where it's like, well, maybe Texas Tech can offer the full package of good coaching, good deals on the back end, and maybe get me to a place where I can be in the NFL. Maybe that is where they're talking about right now. So I really do think it comes down to some of these Texas teams, whether it's Texas, Texas A&M, or Texas Tech. I don't think USC is going to be back in the picture for Cam Coleman. I'll put it that way.
I think that all four of those programs have a chance. I personally give A&M and Texas in the 30%, and like 30% plus right now. I think Tech has a chance to make a big dent. Would he be a good fit for Tech? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, you give Sorsby, who's got a big arm, a huge X receiver, with some of the other talent they have in that roster. They have a pretty decent running game. They really are a quarterback away from what we saw when they were shut out by Oregon from contending for a championship. So, yeah, I could definitely see that. That's something where, I'm not making people make fun of A&M, people make fun of Texas. Everybody makes fun of each other. So it is what it is. It's just part of college football. But you can't not respect what Joey McGuire has built there. And I get that even after they lost, hey, credit to him. He blamed himself. He said, I wasn't good enough. I didn't do a good enough job preparing. We'll be back next year. And we're going to utilize the funds we have, having a guy like Cody Carpenter to help you out there. That's just what college football is now. We can't say that A&M is doing anything more ethical or whatever. Everybody's doing the same type of deal. But I just think that when it comes to quarterback, I know a lot of people are going to dog Marcel Reed and go, well, why would he want to go there for Reed? It's like, well, why did Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver go for Reed? And that was backed up by Mike Elko, who said they came and watched his practice and said, I can play with this guy. So you think Cam Coleman is not a fan. Cam Coleman is a football player. So Cam Coleman has a different mindset of what type of quarterback he wants to play with. It's not a fan watching on TV. So we have no idea what he's looking at from that perspective. That's all I want to say. It's like, that's what I don't get, because they're going to like rank the situation. But playing with Reed, playing with Manning, playing with Sorsby would all be good for him, I think. So
exactly. And I think playing for Keelan Russell as well next season for Alabama might be good. Just because we don't know
dropping some.
I'm not dropping anything. I am projecting.
I agree.
I think is going to happen, and Ty Simpson goes to the draft. That's just my professional opinion.
Yeah, we'll see. That's why I didn't say the name. You just kind of see. I didn't say Ty Simpson, so
hey,
I don't know who the quarterback's going to be next year.
If anyone wants to come at me, they can come at me. That's my opinion. It's not any projection or anything like that.
You're. But yeah, I think that's really all we have, and I think that's really all anybody has. I think that the money thing that came out yesterday from Pete Nokos is pretty much the largest update, most up to date that we have outside of him, going to Tech on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. But I think by Thursday, Friday, maybe this weekend, we could hear a commitment. I don't know, because he's taken all his visits, and he has 24 to 48 hours to think it over with his family. We may hear where Cam Coleman is headed by this weekend. I'm going to be honest, though. One of the reasons we're talking about Cam Coleman is just to talk about it because it is a big news story, but at the same time, A&M is hosting Malcolm Simmons, his 2025 teammate from Auburn, today. And a lot of people think this is a backup plan. No, it's not a backup plan, because you still don't know who could enter the portal. Potentially Terry Bussey, somebody like that could enter. We don't know what's going to happen there yet. I did get an update from Jackson actually that Julio Humphrey, A&M's cornerback, has not re-signed with the team yet, but they still feel pretty good about where they stand with him. Somebody they do need for depth coming back, but again, there could be more movement in the portal for A&M's, especially at wide receiver. So hosting a guy like Simmons, who is highly productive, had over 400 plus yards during his last 2 seasons, had a great season last year, perfect fit in what they want to do, kind of like a Casey Concepcion guy, I would say, and the way you can move him around at the Z or slot. So again, just do what you have to do. Get these guys on campus, and if you can secure a commitment and you don't get a Cam Coleman, it's not the end of the world.
I am a huge fan of Malcolm Simmons.
Yeah,
so I think it's a gross misuse of what Auburn did with the wide receiver room they had. So Malcolm Simmons is a kid that, coming out of the state of Alabama during that monumental wide receiver cycle from that state. I mean, Mario Craver, Cam Coleman, Ryan Williams, all of these wide receivers just out of the state of Alabama, just absolutely nuts. So I got a text earlier this morning saying that there were a couple of people who weren't going to be named on campus right now. They may come out a little bit later on. And after a little digging, I uncovered Malcolm Simmons earlier today, which is funny because people are obviously going to make the connection with Cam Coleman being his teammate. I really like the prospect of A&M getting both. I really do. I really like both Malcolm Simmons as a prospect, as a sophomore, and then Cam Coleman as a kid right now, where he has the big play potential. And you feel incredible about that wide receiver room next season. So
and the thing is,
not a backup plan.
The thing is, if you don't get a Coleman, and we're really talking, Coleman is just a fantastic receiver all around, but he is an X. He is a big target. That's really why we talk about Cam Coleman the way we do in A&M media, because of what it could do for this offense, especially in the red zone, because you saw even with bad quarterback play how efficient he was with those 50-50 catches. So that's one of the main reasons why you'd want him in this offense. But there are other bigger wide receivers out there that you have a chance. I'm blanking on the name right now. The Georgia Tech transfer wide receiver. Who's out there?
Is he a Canyon?
Yeah. There's been some rumblings that A&M would like to get him on campus. Obviously, I think Georgia's wanting him. There's a lot of
he is on Georgia's campus right now.
Okay, he is visiting right now. Yeah, I think A&M would like to get him on campus. But again,
I think they very much want to get him on campus, and you will see him on campus.
Yeah, and so there you go. So there's a lot of options out there. So you can talk about a backup plan, but everybody has a backup plan for Cam Coleman right now, right? You look at Texas right now, for example, because their kind of portal mishaps and additions have been interesting, because they were kind of holding out for Jaden Baugh, who just re-signed with Florida at running back, and they haven't secured a running back yet. They do believe they're going to get the Arizona State running back, but at the same time, you can't rest on your laurels when it comes to these players. You have to keep moving. So if Coleman's mulling his decision, whatever, we're going to go bring in this wide receiver who we think is a great fit. We're going to fit in this guy who brings more size on the outside. We're not going to wait and see if Coleman picks us or not, because nobody knows. I mean, really, we don't know. We may know I think we may have more intel by Thursday, but I think tomorrow he's going to.
Don't know, and I think that's coming from even me as someone who covers this extensively, where today just may be a rest day for him. I mean, we won't know much. I mean, everybody can talk to agents galore, but who really knows if you're getting the full truth when it comes to that? So.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that to diss agents, but
no, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. It's part of the game. You got to trust me. I mean, they get a lot of criticism I personally thought my sister, who has those type of negotiation skills, should have been a sports agent, but that didn't happen. Either way, that's a great job to have, and it's not lying; it's negotiating.
It is negotiating.
And in today's NIL kind of crazy world, Cam Coleman is like a NFL free agent, like top guy who any team would try to outbid each other with. That's where we're at right now. So, but again, A&M is still clearly in the mix for Coleman. I think that's really the takeaway. I think that's what people need to know. And I try to do that when I'm writing about it, is saying, like, don't see this as like, oh, well, Texas A&M, they're hosting Malcolm Simmons or they're hosting this guy, so they're probably not going to get Coleman. No, they're still in it. All 4 teams we talked about are in it, and I just think the most interesting one's going to be Texas Tech. I think that if they can land a guy like Cam Coleman, then they can land anybody they want right now, which is just not great for the rest of college football. It's going to have to contend with that, but if he does choose like a Texas or an A&M, maybe it was just quarterback, maybe it was wanting to play in Texas. I don't know. But if he does choose Alabama, I'll say this. He just wanted to go home, and that makes perfect sense because
exactly.
Always going to have good quarterback play under Kalen DeBoer because he is a quarterback offense type coach. So before we're going to preview a little bit of basketball, but any other transfer portal news notes you want to talk about?
I definitely want to talk about one guy that's come across, and I was able to report it pretty quickly after it came across my desk. But Aggies are going to show interest and host Northwestern star edge Anto Saka.
Okay.
He is a guy that everybody kind of saw as, hey, this guy's going to Northwestern. How much thought do we even need to put into this guy, Yeah. But for the Wildcats this season, I mean, he was described, I thought, on one call, and I put it in the article I wrote, he was being described as an Abdul Carter light. So someone his size, and he's 6'4", 260 pounds, but his frame allows him to kind of dip under the arms of opposing offensive tackles, even when they have those longer arms. So he had 13 tackles, like 6 assist tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery. He only saw play in, I think, like 6 games this season. I think there were a couple games where he was injured, but in 6 games, 3 sacks is nothing to look like shy about. So I think that this is one that they're going to look a little bit more into. So keep an eye on this one. He did enter with a do not contact tag, so you could see him pop up randomly at another school.
I could see that. Yeah. And I think getting him on campus this early is a good sign. And with, looking at the defense, I think that's going to help any of these transfers kind of look at, okay, this team needs help here. So you're not just going to be sitting on the bench potentially and thinking he made the wrong decision. For a guy like him, he's going to see play next year. Like if he commits to A&M, he's going to see the field, and he might see a ton of snaps because they need help there. And like you said, he is one of the rising type of players right now. I mean, it's kind of interesting how some of the recruiting insiders talk about these guys. Like it's maybe their opinion mixed with coaches or how agents are talking about him. But like you said, in limited action, he was very, very good. And he's got a skill set and a frame that Mike Elko could really hone in on. So.
Yeah, and the last one I want to talk about quickly before we move on to our last segment today is we mentioned it before after talking about the offensive line is they are hosting NC State star offensive tackle Jacarius Peak, who by all counts, and I know you know a lot about him after writing about him, but this is a kid from Georgia, and you're going to have to remind me the high school, but there were talks of him potentially going to the NFL draft, but instead thought more about the portal, going to a little bit of a higher level. So throughout the season, he was like the highest rated offensive tackle in the ACC for a while, next to Francis Mauigoa. He allowed 0 pressures in the last 4 regular season games, all ACC honorable mention. He was like, he played the most snaps for NC State's offensive line. He helped Hollywood Smothers get touchdown after touchdown. And for my people who don't know, Hollywood Smothers just committed to Alabama as their new running back. So if that shows you anything that this guy can block for, his PFF grades at pass protection was an 84. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, this is someone any single team would want to have as their left tackle. And I believe that A&M does think that this guy can be their left tackle next to a whole revamped offensive line. But he's probably going to take other visits elsewhere as well. I know Miami probably wants to get him on campus, maybe a team like Florida. Sure. I expect Texas to be involved as well. So even at the prospect of Trevor Gooseby staying on campus, I think them to at least reach out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was about to say that. So I think Goosby's staying. Texas is going to be they're going to be a player in this, but I think that having all this change in the O-line for A&M and Trey Zune leaving and how Trey Zune played last season, a little bigger at 6'7". I think peaks about 6'4", 6'5". But again, I think that's an easy decision, right? You look at you'd be an immediate starter playing in the SEC, getting all scouts' eyes on you, even more so than you did at NC State, even though they were watching you at NC State. One of the reasons you're out in the portal is to get more eyes, to get more big-time scouts watching all of your games, because as we know, those with the media, there's always NFL scouts at almost every A&M game, no matter who they're playing, unless it's like a really early season game where they're playing nobody. But it's just a great opportunity for him, and he'd slot in immediately left tackle. And if this happens, then I'm not going to be too worried about A&M's O-line. I will honestly say that. If they can get a Jacarius Peak, I will go into the spring covering this team feeling pretty good about where they are, because as we discussed with Cohen Eccles and sorry, I'm blanking on the South Carolina guard. Yeah, thank you. I had the Baugh name in my head, but you feel like you have two starting options at guard, and you can figure out the rest along the way, because you do have depth, and you have a lot of depth. That's the thing. You have a lot of young offensive linemen in this program because Adam Cushing recruited his butt off in the 24 class. So there's a lot of options there. They know they want to rotate guys in, but having a sure starting left tackle for Marcel Reed is really should be the focus. So we'll see how that goes. But it is good they got him on campus, because we did hear a couple rumors that was happening. So one of the reasons we did the show so early today is because A&M does play at Auburn tonight in a pretty big matchup for this team after squeaking out that win against LSU, where they beat the Tigers 75-72 in one of the craziest basketball games I have watched all year. Honestly, I was standing there just watching the last minute, tied 66 all, and just it was like 2 or 3 turnovers, then missed shots, then free throws, then missed free throws, then a missed 4 3-pointer. I'm just like, man, they're lucky they escaped that. But the way this team plays, they're fun to watch. I'll say that. And if they play like this the rest of the year,
that's what Bucky wants is fun basketball on that court. So previewing kind of this game tonight against Auburn, it's a very big one. I was looking earlier last night when writing my preview for it, but in looking for it, Torvik, one of my favorite stats sites for basketball, has a grade where they call it the T3 grade, where it is the importance or impact of the game on each team's tournament odds. So that what they'll have is they have a list of the teams playing that day, where whether which team wins or loses, what impact does it have on the tournament. And A&M Auburn is at the top of the list by 20 points. Their total point of 114 T3 rating, which means that this game at 114 points is the biggest night for either team. So if A&M were to win, that drastically significantly increases their chances to make the tournament. I think boosts it over 70%. Same with Auburn. So whoever loses this game, I think, drops below 35% to make the tournament. So it is a big game when it comes to it.
And I think the best thing to come out of that win against LSU, not just the players staying after the game to sign autographs and stuff like that, was awesome. I loved it. I love seeing like Rashawn Agee and all those guys just like pay attention to fans who came, even though this is not what Reed Arena is going to look like every game, because the students are coming. They did come back this week, I believe. So I think it's going to fill up. They play Oklahoma on Saturday, so we'll see.
Correct.
We'll see the turnout there. But again, I do, and we talked about this after Mackenzie Mbako. It was announced he was out for the year. I think they have the guys to do it. I think they have the guys to make a run. It's just limiting turnovers, efficient shooting, and someone like Pop Isaacs, I believe, finally looking like his old self. If he can look like the player that was starring with Creighton before his injury last year, A&M has a great shot at doing something pretty cool and making the tournament and we've seen that he's cut down on turnovers. He's been much better on defense. Obviously, Rashawn Agee, they need him to play 20-plus minutes in pretty much most of these games because he is their best rebounder. He is one of their best defender. He plays with that physicality and that tenacity that you need to keep going even when it gets tough, even when you're down by a couple or down by more. You need a guy like that on the court to get you going. But from what I've seen in small sample size, you know more than I do. You're our basketball guy. But I feel like they aren't – I mean, what is the line right now? It's like 7-8 points or something like that, on the road. So they don't really believe in A&M right now. But this is a chance for them to further kind of state their case that, look, even though we lost one of our quote-unquote star players, even though he hadn't played that many games because he is a star, obviously, with Indiana, but I think the only blessing they have is that he wasn't available this early to being with the offense was centered around him in any way, that they are playing team basketball right now where nobody is going to be the center point outside of Rashawn Agee in some areas, but maybe late in the game, but you have a ton of experienced guards. Ali Deba, I think we could spend a lot of time talking about him, had 12 points, 2 3-pointers, was a spark plug off the bench. That's someone they need to continue playing at a high level. And if they can get production, I think they're number 1 in the SEC in bench production right now, aren't they?
Yes,
yeah. They are. And that's a big part of you winning and losing games. So I am very high on them. I'm a little iffy about this game because Auburn is a weird team. They're much better than their record. They're 9-5, but they had a close loss to Houston. They obviously had a very close overtime loss. Was it overtime against Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They can score. Now, defensively, I think A&M will have a good shot to get some shots off, open up some screens for Dominguez. But again, we'll see. It's a second game in SEC play. It's a big one. It's kind of crazy that this is game 2 on the road against Auburn. This is usually like a kind of mid-season game. So
yes,
yeah, it's going to be fun. So, but I think we do need to mention our betting sponsor. My birthday is on Friday, so happy birthday. So I will miss
you get a little extra play funds from Underdog for that, right?
Yeah, we'll see. As we get older, it's people they ask for checks. I ask for things I need, so not usually getting money outside of from my grandparents. But either way, there are. So we could talk about the line. So actually, I think the line's it's lowered to 6.5 for A&M Auburn this week. Yeah. And then, so the game's let's see the game on. So Ole Miss and Miami is on Thursday, I believe. And yeah. So, man, glad to see another show. But yeah, I think Miami's like a 3.5-point favorite right now.
Yes.
Which is interesting because Ole Miss, I think they looked very, very good and they look like the superior offensive team. But I get the defense and what Miami was able to do against Ohio State was impressive enough for them to get to garner that line. And then pretty much the same. So I think they're kind of keeping it consistent. That's why I love this. This is the best semifinal round I think they've ever had. I have not been more excited for football because usually at this time it's just like bad matchups and large lines, and maybe there might be a team in there that's just going to get beaten by 10 just because they weren't good enough. But yeah, that's a 3.5-point line too, with Indiana being the favorite right now, and I think that's probably going to be the best game of the year, just based on the rematch, based on how Indiana kind of controlled the line of scrimmage, had a great running game on the road against Oregon. Oregon has looked much better defensively, obviously shutting out Texas Tech. But I'm telling you, if Indiana can win this game, I think they're going to win the entire thing. So
100%. Indiana is kind of a buzzsaw right now.
I think that I don't see them losing to Miami or Ole Miss. So it's up to Oregon if they want. If either Miami or Ole Miss wants to win a championship, I think Oregon needs to win that game because I think Indiana is just insane watching them right now.
But yeah, if you guys like us appreciate a little bit of extra, I guess we should say a little extra bonus to what your sports outings are. I like to use Underdog Fantasy. Cameron might get some extra funds for his birthday as well. We don't know, but Underdog is a partner on here. So if you guys want $50 extra into your account, just play $5 and use our code VOCFB Aggies, and it just gets deposited right into your account in bonus. So go ahead, go out there. If you feel like you're leaning one way with Miami prop line, I think I'm garnering that Carson Beck might be going lower on his passing yards again.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way I'm going. But if you think better of it, go ahead, use $5, get $50 instantly with code VOCFB Aggies.
I think both those games are going to try to establish a balanced attack. I think that Miami's secondary is going to really step up and force Ole Miss to kind of dink and dunk their way down the field and hope that Keywan Lacey has a big game. But I think there's going to be two very good close games. I don't see either being a blowout because I do think that the difference for Oregon is going to be quarterback play, having Dante Moore being efficient in the pocket, making smart throws, not turn the ball over. And I think Indiana control the line of scrimmage like they did, run the ball. I mean, you run the ball like you did against Alabama, you're going to have a good day because Fernando Mendoza doesn't really throw. He does not really throw interceptions. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He makes pristine throws. One of the reasons they do believe he's going to be the number one overall pick. God bless if you go to the Jets. But either way, it should be a very good weekend of football. But yeah, if you do have a gambling problem, you can always call 1-800-GAMBLER. So to end the show, I think we covered all the transfer news for now. I think that I will say this, and I was going to say this in the middle of the show. Mike Elko's strategy, which he gets a lot of flack for not beating Texas the last 2 years, losing the way they did against Miami, even though I'm telling you, I was talking to somebody even yesterday about the Brazos Valley and the wind and how it's even worse where there's no stoppage. And it feels even worse that game was kind of corroded by the weather. And I still wish it was at a night game. Not saying A&M would have won that game, but if they did not have those wind problems, who knows, right? It just kind of sucks that was the way they ended their season. But for the last 2 years, including now, Mike Elko's strategy in the portal has been that of a businessman, of a CEO, of somebody who sees the layout of his team, understands where to start, where to go in the middle, and where to end. And even though the Cam Coleman thing started right away and everybody got in on him immediately, getting that tight end room shored up, fixing the O-line for the most part. Obviously, you have work there to do, but getting two key additions there, especially after he was talking about wanting to fix the line of scrimmage, running the ball better to help Marcel Reed and make him one of the best versions of himself next season. And on defense, getting another playmaker in the secondary and getting I wouldn't call him a project, but somebody that you do feel is going to make somewhat of an impact next season on the defensive line or as an edge rusher, knowing that you have Marco Jones coming back and have a lot of young guys in this program that you feel very good about going into the offseason. So we're going to hear more. Obviously, there's news coming out almost every minute, it seems like, with visits and guys that plan to visit this weekend. So we'll make sure to keep you up on that. Again, make sure to follow Cannon on X. Make sure to follow Cannon and follow all his work on his Patreon. You can follow all my stuff at Aggies Wire. We're doing updates pretty much every day. We're probably going to get a couple more out and prepare some stuff for tomorrow. So there's a lot of moving parts to the portal. There's also some recruiting news coming out. A lot of stuff going on. But again, the basketball game is tonight. It's on SEC Network, I believe. And I think it's at 8 o'clock Central Time. So yep. Hopefully that's a good one, but either way, support your Aggies. They deserve it. This team deserves support. I'm telling you, and they're playing like it. So that's
and support us. Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow, and I know this is a weird time because we're usually at 7 o'clock, but it is what it is.
We're hoping all of our people listening are going to get off their work week and just kind of coast into the night right now. So
Yeah, because I think these updates will stay throughout the week. I think that providing some analysis on their commits. I know there's going to be more coming. We don't know when that's going to be, but we'll be talking about that on Tuesday, most likely, possibly at this time or a little later, because we're going to have even more news then. So as always, I'm Cameron. That's Cannon, and we'll see you next Tuesday.